The Bible doesn't mention the existence of any kangaroos, so I think Australia disproves Christianity. Hey guys, welcome back to KingdomCraft, where we build churches in Minecraft while talking about Christianity. My sanctuary over there is finally starting to look okay, and today I'm going to be talking about the question of aliens. So, unless you're part of some weird conspiracy theory that... Who put a statue of me over here? Unless you're part of some weird conspiracy theory, there is no evidence for or against the existence of aliens scientifically. But a lot of Christians worry what would happen if, hypothetically, we did prove the existence of aliens. Would that somehow contradict our faith? Would that disprove our faith, even? And the short answer is no. Thanks for watching. Okay, if you want more of an explanation of that, here it is. So there's actually three possibilities, three potential answers to the question, do aliens exist? And I think the most likely answer is the one that people think about least. So option number one is there is absolutely no life at all off of this planet. There's not a single living thing off of planet Earth, and Earth is all that we have in terms of life. That's option number one. Option number two is that aliens do exist, and these aliens are sort of intelligent the way humans are. Maybe they're little green men walking around, maybe they look completely different than us, but they are still intelligent, they can still communicate, they still have, like, rational minds, so we would regard them as people. That's option number two, but option number three is what I think is actually the most likely, and what people actually talk about the least. It's that aliens do exist in that there is life on other planets, but this life isn't intelligent. Maybe it's some sort of weird mold or fungus that exists on another planet. Personally, I think the scientific qualifications for life exclude the possibility of discovering life on other planets, because it says specifically it must be made out of DNA to be considered life. I think it's very possible that some other chemical would develop on another planet that would perform a similar function as DNA, but not technically be DNA. So I think if we discovered a planet that had these organisms that were autonomous and that could reproduce, or that could even communicate and interact with us, but weren't technically made out of DNA, we might have to either alter our definition of what counts as life, or just not consider those things to be living, even though they would show all the intuitive signs of being living. But anyway, I think the most common option is that there is some sort of life on other planets, but, not the most common, the most likely option is that there probably is some sort of life on other planets, but it's not anything like the life we personally know about. Now, there is a fourth option that a lot of Christians talk about. I heard a lot of them talking about it when recently there were some rumors that the Mexican government found this alien body, but as a lot of people expected, it turned out to be totally fake. A lot of Christians were saying, like, because aliens don't exist, any supposed alien existence is really a demon. And I'm not saying that's impossible, but I don't think we should dogmatically say things about the demonic if we don't really know. Because we don't know. We should be discerning, we should be wise. If there are these supposed aliens that come and try and contradict our faith and tell us that everything we believe is wrong, then the chances of them being demons would greatly increase, in my opinion. But I don't think we should speak on issues we don't know about. And the existence of aliens is something we don't know about. So I have my theory. My theory is that there's something like life on other planets. It might not be made out of DNA, so it'd be hard to consider it life scientifically. Because we live in a huge universe. We live in a universe with billions of stars in our galaxy and billions of galaxies. Just statistically, it's very likely that something in the universe, aside from planet Earth, has developed life. And I am a Darwinist, so I hold to the general scientific consensus about how life developed on this planet. I don't think that contradicts the Bible or Christianity at all. If you want to know that, you can watch my debate with Keith Foskey about that. I know you'll probably have a lot of objections that you might want to leave in the comments, but you can refer to that if you want to know why I believe in evolution. But anyway, so this video is not about evolution, it's about the existence of aliens. So why would that not contradict our faith? Well, the Bible does not mention anything about aliens. And it is difficult to understand how aliens would fit into the system of biblical Christianity, because, as far as we know in biblical Christianity, every person, aside from Jesus himself and Mary if you're Catholic, is a sinner. And Jesus died for all people, because all people are sinners. So, if we discovered aliens, would they be sinners? If the answer is yes, then did Jesus incarnate into an alien body to die for them? Did Jesus maybe not die for them? Or another option, are there creatures on other planets that are just not sinners? These are tough questions. It cause some pretty tough questions for Christian theology if we found alien life forms that were intelligent like us humans, but were not necessarily sinners. Or maybe they were sinners, or maybe it's very hard for us to know if they're sinners because they're not descended from Adam. It would cause some hard questions. And you know what? That's okay. I don't know what the answer would be to that if we discovered intelligent aliens. I think if my theory is correct that there are non-intelligent alien life forms, that wouldn't cause any theological problems for Christianity, other than the fact that the Bible doesn't mention any life on other planets, but the Bible doesn't mention the existence of kangaroos either. That doesn't mean kangaroos are a threat to the Christian faith. The Bible doesn't mention dinosaurs, unless you think Behemoth is referring to a dinosaur. It doesn't mean the existence of dinosaurs is a threat to the Christian faith. I mean, I know there's some fundamentalists who think that the devil planted dinosaur bones to test our faith and to make us doubt the Bible, but if you're a normal person, the existence of dinosaurs is not a problem for the Christian faith. So because of that, I don't think just the existence of life on other planets would be a challenge to the Christian faith. I think it'd be the question about sin. The question about, does Jesus die for those alien life forms? And if so, does Jesus need to incarnate as one of those aliens? Would there be multiple incarnations? That might be a problem for us. And I'm not saying these aren't hard questions. They are hard questions. But all of theology, throughout all of human history, has been wrestling with hard questions like these. And I don't think we should be afraid of such a challenge like that. Now, it might be the case that there is no intelligent life, and even if there is, we probably won't discover it. Another thing I think that is that even if there is intelligent life on other planets, the chances that we will discover it ever is very unlikely, because if just the amount of space that exists between all the stars and galaxies is so vast, we wouldn't have any time to even discover it. So even if it does exist, I don't think we're gonna ever find it, so it's almost useless to talk about. It's more of I think a 20th century speculation at this point. Most people have stopped even really caring about this question. But I do think it still is a good question. What would we do theologically if alien life was discovered? And like I said, I think we should just be open to the new challenge that might come about, because if that were to happen, it would not be the first time the church has had to deal with a very tough theological challenge. The church has always had to deal with very tough theological challenges, but this has inspired Christians to use their brains. You know, all of modern science, basically, the tools that would help us find any aliens if there are, all modern science came from Western universities. Western universities started out as theology schools, and these theology schools were started by Christians for the sake of answering tough theological questions like these. You know, Christians didn't start doing theology out of nowhere. Theology is the queen of the sciences, so theology ended up being massively beneficial for all of humanity, because studying God led to studying the creation of God. But Christians didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, let's do some academic theology. No. Every single theological development in the church was a response to some problem, to some issue that was hard to reconcile. So how could there be aliens and also have Jesus die for human sin? That's a hard question. But this is not the first hard question the church has had to resolve. Back in the day, one of the questions was, okay, how can Christianity be descended from Judaism but still be a distinct religion from Judaism? That was a hard question that the church had to solve, and they solved it. Or how can Jesus be human and be divine? That was a hard question. The church had to solve it. How can God be one? How can there be one God, but God is three persons? That was a hard question. The church had to solve it, and the church did solve it. We shouldn't shy away from things like this. We shouldn't retreat into anti-intellectualism. And I think dogmatically insisting that aliens don't exist because it would be a challenge to our faith is this kind of anti-intellectualism that we want to avoid. So I'm not going to pretend I know what the answer is. I'm not going to pretend I know what the answer is for what it would mean for our faith if there's aliens. Yes, it's possible that these aliens are maybe angelic beings that don't necessarily need a redeemer, just the same way that, like, angels like the unfallen angels, the elect angels, don't necessarily need Jesus to die as an atonement for their sins because they technically didn't sin, at least according to classical Christian theology. So it's possible the aliens could be like that, or it's possible they could not be like that. There's infinite possibilities. So all I'm saying is that Christians should not be anti-intellectual. Every time there has been a major scientific discovery, most of the church has been able to adapt to it, and it's inspired the church to use its mind even more. But there's always been some fundamentalists who are, I think, irrationally worried that this will completely change the way the church thinks about things. Like a long time ago, everyone thought the Earth was the center of the universe. And it's a myth that the church tortured Galileo for contradicting that. The church never did that. But it is true that there were a lot of people in the church who thought he was a fool for saying that, or that Copernicus, who was the original pioneer of that theory, was a fool. And I will find some modern idiots on Twitter who are geocentrists. But because everyone grew up with the conception that the Earth is the center of the universe, a lot of people just had this instinctive knee-jerk reaction to the proposition that maybe Earth is not the center of the universe. They were scared, and it's understandable. It is scary when your entire worldview changes. But I think it's a bit of a lack of faith to think that our faith cannot survive a change in the way we see the world. So it was the same with Darwinism, and to this day a lot of Christians still won't accept evolution. But I think in 200 years we will look back on the evolution debate the way Christians today look back on the geocentrism debate. Because even the most fundamentalist Christians today, I'm pretty sure, are indeed heliocentrists. So I think that Christians need to accept evolution. Christians need to be open to whatever the science reveals. It doesn't mean we need to blindly accept it, because the science often is wrong, but when the science is wrong, it gets corrected with better science, not with dogmatic fundamentalism. For example, Isaac Newton's physics was the most accurate physics of the time, but then Albert Einstein came along and proved why Newtonian physics was wrong, because not everything is always constant. Einstein proved that things are actually relative, that space and time can sort of fluctuate. And then Max Planck, with quantum physics, sort of overturned everything once again, overturned the Einsteinian way of thinking by showing that sometimes at such small levels or at such high temperatures you can't even make a measurement. That's what quantum physics really revealed. I don't pretend to really understand quantum physics in any serious way, but I do know enough about quantum physics to know that when it was discovered, it completely turned the entire scientific world upside down. So yes, when there is a scientific discovery, of course, it's always possible that it could be disproven later. It's possible that evolution could be disproven later, but if it's disproven, it will be disproven by better science. I do like this quote. Someone says, "Oh, you think you can disprove evolution? Okay, well then go to do it, write a paper on it, and go collect your Nobel Prize." And yes, there will be scientific resistance to it. Some people will be like, "Oh no, we've already disproven evolution, but those evil atheist scientists will never listen." Well, it's not necessarily true, because scientists used to believe the world was eternal. Scientists used to believe there was no beginning to the universe. And it was a Christian who discovered the Big Bang. It was a Christian who discovered the universe had a beginning. And the atheists didn't really like that, because that implied the universe had a creator. So at first there was resistance from atheists to the Big Bang, which was discovered by a Christian, by a Catholic priest. But eventually the evidence was so strong they had to admit it. So if evolution really is wrong, which I don't think so, but if it is wrong, then Christians should become top scientists and do their best to disprove it, rather than just resorting to anti-intellectual fundamentalism. So I think the same applies to aliens. I'm not sure if we'll ever disprove or prove the existence of aliens. It's a very hard subject to prove or disprove, especially if we haven't met the aliens yet. And I don't think we ever will be able to disprove it, unless we examine every single planet in the universe. How would we possibly disprove it? But I also don't think we're ever going to be able to find real examples of this. But just in case we ever do find aliens, the first instinctive reaction of Christians should not be, "Oh no, this completely challenges my faith, time to either lose my faith or become an anti-intellectual who thinks this is all some demonic conspiracy." We should avoid that mindset. The mindset we should have is, okay, this poses a lot of new questions. Let's start using our brains more, just like our spiritual ancestors did during the ecumenical councils, during the Reformation, all those things. So that's just my advice for how Christians should approach the issue of aliens. We should always be using our brains. That's what the church should do. I don't like when Christians get stupid. Christians shouldn't be stupid, and in a lot of modern evangelicalism and fundamentalism, people promote stupidity. They promote anti-intellectualism, which is not good at all. So before I end the video, I've been working on my library. I've killed a bunch of cows, and I got a lot of leather, so I'm going to, in the name of intellectualism, I'm going to label the sections of my library over here in my little sanctuary. This is kind of the reason I built this whole sanctuary in the first place, was to be a sanctuary for learning, to preserve the Presbyterian knowledge of the Presbyterian confessions that I wrote. Okay, where are the Presbyterian confessions? Oh, wait. Here they are. Oh, wait, no. Here they are. All these confessions. So I'm going to run over to my library and begin labeling things. Where's my library? Here's my library. Okay, so what are these books? So this shelf, I'm going to say, is New England Puritan books, because it was the New England Puritans, these Puritan Calvinists, that founded Harvard and Yale. Very intellectual, if you ask me. What about these books? I'm going to say Scottish Presbyterian Covenanter books, because the Scottish Presbyterians, like Samuel Rutherford and George Gillespie, were very based and very intelligent. I've read some Samuel Rutherford, so it's not LARPing for me to have fake books from him in my library. Okay, what about this section over here? This will be the Church Fathers selection. I'll say anti and post-Nicene Fathers. And what about this section over here? Maybe I'll say this will be 1700s Old Light Presbyterian sermons, because a lot of Presbyterian sermons, like John Witherspoon's, were actually very influential in starting the American Revolution. And maybe I'll say this is a shelf for neo-Orthodox theologians. I'll say Karl Barth and others. And the last one over here, I'll say this is just medieval scholastic works. I'll say Scotus and others. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. I would say I'll speed this up, but I've already talked a lot. I've been yapping a lot in this video, so thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.